Hey guys, this is Captain William Townsend again with Staked Out Podcast, and I'm going to show y'all guys how I build my leader systems for my clients on the boat. In previous videos, you saw that I use a perfection loop, the blood knot, and the loop knot to fly. And those are the three basic knots that I use for building my leaders. I've been using these leaders for quite a while now, and I have not had any issues with them at all. They're real simple, easy to tie, and as a guide, building my own leaders makes more sense just because I go through so many through a season that buying a 3-pack of leaders for $9 to $12 isn't very cost prohibitive, and plus I can alter them and change them how I see fit. Now, so for y'all guys that are interested in building your own leaders, this would be good for you, and this is exactly how I tie them. So our first knot in the last episode was the perfection loop. So what I usually do is I use Trilene Big Game, and I've been using it for years. And actually this one spool I've probably been using for at least a year. And you can get hundreds of liters off of these spools. So my measuring system is I simply measure my arm out and some links on my arm. So that way when I'm out on the water, I can, if I had to build a leader for some reason really quick, I could just take quick measurements and I know how my leaders would work. And it also helps in speed production up for myself. I'm not building an IGFA class leader. I'm just building a leader to go fun fishing with or with my clients and so forth. So I take my first is for 7-8 weight rods. I'll use a 40-30-20 system. And so I use 40-pound test and I measure it out. And I roughly take, I know from the tips of my finger to roughly my neck, it's about 5 foot. And then I'll take a little extra and I'll cut that. And that would be my main line that I'll connect my loop to my fly line. So let's have a refresher on our knots. So the first knot I'm going to tie, and even if I was doing a dozen of these, this is what I'd do. I would tie a perfection loop. So I'm going to show you all on this main line. So on this paracord. So I take it, make one loop, come back around, take the tag in, come back around, and then come take the tag into this, and then come back in between. I split the two loops, and that creates your perfection loop. And then I pull this down and tight. Of course, all this would be lubricated. A lot of times I'll use a cup of water, or you can use your mouth if you want. But you pull that tight, and that creates your perfection loop. And then you can come back and clip this tag in. So that's the first knot. So what I do is take my 40 and then create a loop. Go take my tag in, go back around, and come out. So now I have 2 loops, and then I'll split those 2 loops. I'll come back through the center, and then I grab this tag in, and I start working this up. And I'm going to tie it a little bit bigger just so it's easier to see for video purposes. But that creates my loop. Again, I would lubricate this very well with water, a cup of water, dip it in, or if you're near the salt water, you just dip it in the water while you're there. And then I pull this tight. I get something blunt, usually I have pliers, and I'll pull that tight. That creates my perfection loop. And then I'll come and snip the tag end off. Okay, so that would be the first phase of my leader. This would attach to my fly line. So I'll set that aside. My next knot that we saw in the previous video was the blood knot. So if this is my 40-pound line with the perfection loop, right here, there's a perfection loop. This is my 40. Now I come in and attach the 30. So I'd cross these as such. And on these, I'm only going to use 3 wraps. On mono, I would use 4 or 5 depending on the tippet size or the line class size. So I come in, I cross them, and I'll do 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. I'll take the tag in and go underneath this other tag end, and I'll pinch that as such. I'll take this tag in, come back over, and now it's going to create another loop right here. And I'll go 1, 2, 3. Take this tag in and come back through that loop. And then I'll come, and you want, this is this crucial part. You want to really lubricate this down, because this is where you're going to build up heat and all that. So if you really get this wet a lot, because you don't want to burn this line, it will drop the line class. And then you pull that tight, and then there's your blood knot here. Clip these off, and that goes from 40 to 30. Perfection loop, your blood knot, 40-pound to 30-pound. So then I grab my 30-pound leader. We'll do it on mono now. And I do 18 inches, a little over 18 just for knot's sake. So I know that from my tip of my fingers to roughly around my joint of my elbow would be about right. So I take a little more and come back and clip it. Okay, so now I got 30-pound. There's my loop knot. Come down my 40. Overlap them. And then I'm going to do 4 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take this tag in, go back around, go under, go, if I can get it, go under this line, and now I have 1, 2, 3. I'll take this tag line, come back over, creating that loop that I'm going to push the final tag through. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I come back through that loop. Don't know if y'all can see it, but you come back through that loop, and then I come back and start to pull tight. And you can see this is the crucial point. This is where you want to wet it down. I'm just going to put a little bit, but I would really saturate this with water, because this is where you're going to burn it when it comes together tight. So there's your 30, 40 to 30, your loop knot. Now we'll come back in, and I would trim these off flush with the knot. Okay, so there's your perfection loop to your blood knot, 40 to 30. Do the same thing with 20. Get a little bit, have a little extra, come in, cut it off, grab the end of your 30 and your 20. And then we'll come and do 1, 2, 3, 4 with the 30. Come back around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the lighter you get, you could add one more wrap to this if you want, but just for demonstration, I'm going to put 4. And I'm going to pull this tight. So here comes my 40 and my 30 to 20. Wet that, pull it down, cinch it down tight. It's crucial that you wet it, lubricate it. And then you come in, clip that. So now you have your main coming to your first blood knot, 30 pound to your second blood knot to 20 pound. At this point I would attach it to my fly line and I would tie on a fly and be headed out. Now once I got on the water, a lot of times if the fish tend to be skittish, spooky, depending on the conditions, lots of boat traffic, so they're acting a little weird, you can tie on 15 pound mono if you want, or I would go into more of a 15 pound fluorocarbon, and you can add another 12 to 20 inches on that. But at this point now we would go and do the loop to fly connection. So here this would be the end of my fly line, my leader. I would go through the eye of the hook, back around, and then I'd create 2 loops. One loop here, so you can see, hold it. My second loop here, and then I would take my second loop through my first loop and hold those together. Take my tag in, come from behind, come into that second loop, and then come around the main line and then back through that loop. And then with the paracord you have to kind of work it around, but with the mono it cinches up pretty good. And it comes back around and you tighten that up. Now your tag in faces your fly. So if this was the fly, your tag in faces, and you come back and clip it off. So here on the mono, I would come in, find my 20 pound, grab my fly, come up through the eye of the hook, pinch it off, give me a little tag, create 1 loop, create 2 loops. My second loop goes into my first. My tag in comes in to my second loop, back around my main line, and back through the loop we came through, that second loop. And then I start cinching it down. And you can get as big or tight a loop as you want. At that point, you wet it, pull it tight, and then tag in, floats back towards the fly. Come in, clip it off, and now you have your fly connected to your leader connected to the rod. So you have the loop knot to your fly, you have your blood knot to your 30 pound, 20 to 30, you have another blood knot going to 30 to 40, and then you come through and you have your perfection loop that attaches to your fly line. And that would be the leaders that I use day in and day out for my clients. And I haven't had any issues with a lot of grass bulking up on any of these or not. You can actually get a little head cement and put around there and actually smooth that off almost real nice and perfect. But I hadn't had any issues, and this is a leader system that I've been using for years now. I can tie hundreds of them with spools of line, and they're fast, easy, and they work. Be sure to leave any questions or comments below, and hit like and subscribe for any future updates that we'll be having. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook So be sure to give us a shout, and we'll see you guys out on the flats. Y'all guys be good.